Hi everyone, I'm Doug Cunnington. This is the Doug.Show Live. This is the Friday show. Maybe I'll start calling it that. It does occur on Fridays. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Welcome to the first time viewer. I really appreciate you coming on board. And a lot of times we just kind of riff a little bit here. And oh, I hear myself, and that is good. All right, I can get rid of these babies. And I don't have a producer or anything. I'm doing my own production here. I add my own links to the description. And by the way, if you see links in the description and it's a product, there's like nearly 100% chance that it is an affiliate link. So I get a commission, and I appreciate it if you use those links. If you need the product, don't get something if you don't need it. That doesn't make sense. But we got a few things we're going to talk about today. And for the people that are brand new, by the way, let me know where you're from. Please say hello in the chat. I try and give everybody a shout out. If you happen to be from my course, 5-Figure Niche Site, let me know that you're in the course as well. I'll be extra nice to you and trying to answer your questions, potentially in a more thorough way. However, if it is beyond the scope of what we can cover today here in the live stream, then we'll move it over to the regular support channel. And you know how to get to it if you're in the course, and then I'll take care of you. All right. So what do we have on the agenda today? Let me look at my notes here. I'll let you know that it's been so busy around here because my wife and I are looking for a new home because we have been renting an apartment for the last year because we recently moved to the area in the Boulder County of Colorado, and we kind of like to get a feel for the neighborhood and the areas of town before we like buy a place. And it just makes sense, like if you're moving and you're trying to figure out like what to do just in general, and you have to deal with all the stress of moving, sometimes it's probably better to just rent a place, figure a few things out, and then you can pick the neighborhood that you want once you figure out what you like. And it turns out the last couple of times we picked the neighborhood that we kind of like to live in, or at least we got used to it. So we're actually staying pretty close by, which, fingers crossed, like contract and everything's going to go smoothly. So I see Sean's on. What's going on? Good to have you on. And further, all right, let me check one. Actually, this is a bad time for me to check settings. So I noticed one thing last week where I scheduled a session like this, a live stream, and then I started the stream on like a different URL, and it turned out more people viewed it, and I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but that is something that I'll have to figure out. The ideal situation is like I go live, and then anyone watching the videos, like they get a little notification like, hey, Doug's live right now. I'm pretty sure it's set up like by default, but YouTube has been changing like the creator studio. So there's like some functionality that is harder to find, number one. Number two, there are bugs when people roll out new products and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm happy that people are finding this in general, like WC Tech Team and Wesley. What's going on, Wesley? Hope things are going well with you. So we got a few things we're going to talk about. If you do have questions, right? So here's how things have changed over the past couple of years. So I used to do these live streams, and it would be a free for all, and I would just answer whatever questions came up. And then I realized that wasn't the best way to run the session through experience, some trial and error. And now we have some more sophisticated software, so I can play clips, which is cool. So we're going to play a few clips from very recent interviews. Recent interviews have been doing super well, by the way. So if you haven't watched like the interview that I published yesterday from Adrian Diaz, Marty McLeod had an update, Christie had an update, and further, right? We have a new interview, actually a couple new interviews coming up over the next couple weeks. One person has been on the show before a couple of times, and another person is brand new. I hope it'll be sort of like a point in time where we're like branching out into some other topics aside from the same affiliate marketing topics over and over again. So anyway, we're going to hit some specific things that we want to talk about today. And I will answer a few questions at the end, but I highly encourage you to check out the links in the description for like frequently asked questions. I think there's one in there, but basically if you go to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ, there are many questions that people ask every single week, sometimes multiple times in the same session. And that is what happened back in the day. So I realized, hey, we need to change this up. So number one, I'm going to mention the nootropics company that I use. So it's called Formula. All right. So I got this package a couple weeks ago. I actually wasn't, because I was traveling over the holidays, I wasn't taking nootropics and I wasn't like working. I was just like hanging out with family and doing stuff. So I got this like in the December timeframe. So this is what it looks like if you order something from Formula. And the cool part with Formula over other nootropic companies is typically, and I haven't used them all, but let's say you go to GNC, for example, and you're like, oh, I want to pick up some nootropics. They have like one kind, right? They have like one kind typically. And there's a bunch of, chemicals or whatever, nootropics, I guess. There's a bunch of nootropics in there, and it's all aiming towards the middle. The cool part with Formula, and I'll open up the little box here, right here. So when you open it up, you'll see you get like a little personal note here with like figuring out what you want. So you decide how you want to feel, you take up to 2 packs daily, and then you repeat daily. And basically you do a survey on the Formula, and there's a link in the description. Basically you do a survey, and if you follow the link in the description, you get like a 20% discount, by the way, on your first order. So you do a survey. They ask you about how you work, what you want to do, maybe where you feel like you have some areas to improve, and then they will make a recommendation for like what to include in your packet here. So for me, I have sort of refined down to clarity and creativity. So for me, clarity, this is what I take before I do a live stream or record a podcast. Helps you hopefully find the right words to say. The ones that I get, everything has a little bit of caffeine. I think it's 100 milligrams of caffeine because I like caffeine and I appreciate it. But you can get these all without any caffeine. Maybe you like to drink your caffeine in the form of coffee, or maybe some sort of a beer with coffee in it. Probably not the best for productivity. But clarity, I take that whenever I'm speaking most of the time. I also take creativity, and this one's great for writing or speaking as well, but I haven't noticed any sort of downside to taking the creativity one. So writing is really good. Or a fun thing I like to do with this is take this and then go for a walk with no input. So no headphones, no anything else, and just walk and let the mind wander. You maybe come up with some cool ideas that you didn't think of before. So these are the two, and they come in a pack, usually of 4 like this. And the first set that I got, it also had a formula called Logic and one called Energy. So Energy is great for like a workout if you're lifting weights or if you're doing cardio. Like I almost always felt like awesome energy from that. I definitely would only take one of those per day, and I would definitely take it before noon. For me personally, because I drink coffee during the morning and sometimes like up until lunch, sometimes around lunchtime, and having all that caffeine in my body wasn't great to fall asleep on the early side, which I like to do. So Energy is great though for the workouts, and then Logic, whenever I was doing like keyword research, for example, or data analysis. So let's say I pull a bunch of reports from like Ahrefs, SEMrush, maybe I'm looking at analytics data, maybe I've pulled reports from the Search Console, and I'm just analyzing things. So Logic is what I take for that sort of activity. And I actually have a couple of those boxes because a lot of times, say 3 times a week, I'm just taking 1 packet in the morning, and then I work in the morning, and then I hang out in the afternoon most of the time. So if I'm doing my books, so I do my own bookkeeping on a monthly basis to really stay on top of stuff. And I'll take logic when I'm doing the books because I'm looking at numbers, spreadsheets, and using that logical part of my brain. So if you are interested in giving nootropics a try, check out Formula. Again, the link in the description. You get a discount if you use my link. And I like it very much. You don't have to take it every day. And then if you did that, then one of these supplies would last you a pretty long time. So I think there's 40. Yeah, I think there's over, like if you took it every day, which I don't recommend, I would say take it, 3 to 5 times a week, something like that. And by the way, I've interviewed both of the founders for Formula. So if you search through my archives out there, you may see it. You may see those couple interviews. So, okay. And Sean mentioned that maybe I got a little boost last week because I put the wrong link and YouTube gave me a boost for that. That totally could be the case because I see now it's kind of odd. And the notifications are sort of hit and miss. Sometimes people get the notification like right away, and then other times people get the notification like 45 minutes later or an hour and a half later. So anyway, we do what we can, but I think at this point in time last week there were like twice as many people on. So what do you know? All right. Nathan says, do you hold any featured snippets? If so, with a recent change to remove duplicate results, have I seen traffic or CTRs through affiliate links impacted? I know it's only been a week. Or if you don't, but held position 2, do you see a traffic or performance change? So that's a deep question that I don't even know the answer to. And people may think this is crazy, but I stay so disconnected from just like the chatter and excitement of like current news that I didn't even know that whatever you're talking about. I don't even know. So I do have featured snippets and I do have positions 2 and whatever, like the full range. But basically I have not observed anything and I don't have my head in the sand, but I don't pay attention to like day-to-day things going on. Typically. Derek's on. Derek Bingham, what's up? Good to see you. And quick note, I will hop over because I think fingers crossed that this thing's going to work here. I'm going to try and share my screen for Formula here. There we go. There's Formula. All right. So basically, if you hop over here, you can see some great information about Formula. You could read about it. They usually have these cool boxes here with like these patterns of blobs. And I like that. The cool part is, they have these different formulas, and I was sort of picking on other companies that just have one combination out there. But basically, they put together formulas and then tested it over and over again with many people and took surveys. And so they have data. And if you're like, hey, I'm doing logical work, like keyword research, maybe the logic formula is the one you want. So my theory is that if you are getting that one size fits all, it is making a compromise for any one of the nootropics that are in there. So it's aiming for the middle of everything. So you end up with like a watered down version. So I typically don't, I will be testing out some other nootropics and I'm always testing stuff out, but generally in a logical sense, I'm like, there's no way they can hit the mark everywhere all the time. So I think the specific formulas make a lot of sense to me. So anyway, you can hop over here, click find my formula, and then I think it's like a 4 to 5 minute survey. They ask you a bunch of questions, and then they'll have a recommendation at the end of that. So check it out if you're interested in testing nootropics. I think they have the ability to order just like a full month, like if you want to give it a shot, which I personally recommend. That's what I did. In fact, one of my students was like, hey, I'm doing this nootropic company, or I'm not doing it's not the founder, but they were like, I've been using these nootropics. I really like them. And then I ordered them, really liked them. contacted the founders, asked them to be on the channel, and they were. So pretty cool. All right. I am going to play a clip here. So again, with this better software, I'm able to play some clips, and I'm going to go to the 1 Hour Professor, Ron Stefanski. Please check out his channel. He's like doing a big push for YouTube these days. I'm going to play this clip where he talks about goals and just thinking about how large his site is going to be. And this is from the most recent interview I did with Ron, where he talks about having, the idea for starting a site about 13 months ago, starting it from scratch, putting in a lot of time and effort, actually more effort and money, not a lot of time from Ron's standpoint. Now he's getting about 900 visitors a day. I talked to him just the other day after this interview was recorded, and he was like, yeah, I'm up to like 900 visitors a day from 800 just a few weeks ago. So here's a clip from Ron Stefanski, the 1 Hour Professor.
I have no idea how big it's going to go. I mean, realistically, I would say probably between 1,000 to 2,000 informational pages in the directory area, maybe even more. I haven't looked at the list in a while because, like I said, I literally give my writers a spreadsheet and they pick from there and they just write and write and write. So I think around 1,000 to 2,000 informational pages and probably informational blog posts. I think we could probably get somewhere between 500 to 1,000 there. So yeah, so total size, it'll be a really big site once it's officially done. When I started, I started it, and I think that we just launched with 10 articles, I think is what I did, because, I'm not trying to, necessarily, I wasn't even worried about monetization at all until I hit 10,000 page views a month. That was the number. I said, I will not monetize until I hit that. And I think that that's just important in the beginning to get people to come to the site, enjoy it, look around, you get your time on site up, all that stuff. I don't know that that's necessary for every site or anything, but that was the number that I did because I already have revenue from other sites and things. So I'm not, really panicking over that. So yeah, so I started around there and then I monetized it around 10,000. But yeah, I don't know exactly how big it's going to go, but I think we started with around 10 blog posts or 10 total pages. I shouldn't say blog posts. I think it was 10 total pages in the beginning.
Okay. And then it's a big range, of course, but how are you going to gauge like, hey, I'm going to publish more? How are you going to make the decision to keep going bigger or to start limiting it?
Start scaling back. So my biggest thing when I started out, to give you an idea of the content that we were creating, it started out as 8 directory type pages every single week. So that's, just to be clear, that's templated really well. So I basically wrote the first 2 myself. I templated it like crazy and said, okay, this is where this section goes. This is where this section goes. So anybody who's doing it, I can get any writer because all they have to do is do the research, find out the information that quote unquote plugs into that section, and then write that section. So I really, really believe in templates for these things. But I started with that, and over time, it's just kind of, that's been the easiest thing, is just to have those templates there and people write from those. But in general, like when to know to, step on the gas pedal or step on the brake, it's mostly been, let's set cruise control for about a year. Because I always tell myself if I'm going to start a website, I have to take a whole year. I tell anybody that's like a student of mine, anything like that, like give it a year. If you don't give it a year, you're not doing yourself justice. So I gave myself a full year, and last month was a year, and it started to actually show some pretty significant growth that month. So that kind of gives you a timeline. Like I was seeing a little bit of money in month 8, which I think was kind of quick. It wasn't a crazy amount of money, but it was kind of quick. And then at a year is basically where I really started to see the growth. So we actually just put our foot on the gas pedal because I saw, hey, we're increasing the amount of content now because basically it's doing well. So right now I have 12 pages, like reference pages being created. And I'm trying to think, we were doing 1 blog post a week. Now it's going to be 3 blog posts a week. So that's what we're doing. And then in terms of like, when do we slow down? If a website is profitable or giving me money, I don't slow down until I literally run out of ideas. I just don't believe in that. And right now, this website isn't, every month, it's in the hole probably, around 800-900 hours, but that's better than the 1,200 hours it was before. And I don't usually stop until, like I said, I run out of ideas, because I know the more content you put out and the more it ranks, the more money you're going to get. I mean, it's just a simple math, simple math right there. Like it's just the trend that it follows. So yeah, I'm hoping, it'd be nice eventually when I'm actually paying for all the content with this website every single month. I've pretty much reached a limitation. My writer that I have currently, I've pretty much reached a limitation on her time with how much more she can write. I could hire another writer, but I'm kind of like, that's the thing. This website, I spent around 15,000, but it hasn't felt like that because I've been investing every single month. For a year, I've invested a little bit more than $1,000 a month. So it doesn't feel like I invest. I'm not taking 15 grand and throwing it in and like ordering articles. I'm not doing that approach. I'm doing it consistent, and slow. So,
in each month, you've seen a little more growth. You've
mm-hmm.
seen a little bit more traffic than the previous month. So, like you're getting good feedback, so you're confident to continue investing.
Yeah. As long as my traffic is the same or growing, I'll keep pushing on it. If I saw 2 or 3 months of decline, or 2 or 3 months of a website being completely stagnant, I would probably at that point look into link building or possibly changing my content strategy. But in this particular instance, that just hasn't happened yet. And Google is continually rewarding the website, continually sending more traffic like almost every single day. So I'm seeing that trend, and don't fix it if it's not broke. So I'm just kind of like, all right, let's just create more because apparently I'm doing something right.
That was Ron Stefanski from the 1 Hour Professor. So do check out his channel. You can also watch the full interview if you look on the channel as well. So thanks a lot for the folks in the chat. I'll hit a couple questions over there, and then let me go back to my little agenda too. So I'm going to talk about books just because I had a couple given to me recently, and then I'll tell you the one that I'm reading right now. Any big readers out there? A lot of readers. I guess if you're watching video, maybe you don't read a ton, but it's a big assumption because I watch a lot of video, but I read a lot. So Amelia is out there. What's going on? I have checked out your channel some. Please shoot me an email. I tried to leave a comment somewhere. I think I tried to find your email address like on the about section of your channel, and I didn't see it, but I was on my phone. Anyway, maybe we can do something together. And by the way, if you're on here, hit the thumbs up. That'll be great. And yeah, I don't know what the deal is. So we got like 20 people on live, which is great. Thanks for everyone for coming on here. Last week we had like 40. So I don't know, maybe I just need to like randomly do these, but people in the crowd, if you have the opportunity to like share it in a Facebook group, perhaps maybe get some more people on here. It's fun. It's just a vanity thing, really. All right. A couple questions here. Okay, WC says, hey, Doe, it would be really great if you interview a newbie and watch his or her mistakes, all right, and help him with your advice. It's going to help us learn through his mistakes and your advice. Okay, so a couple things with that. I'll just be honest with you here. That is, I don't know if it's a trademark of mine, but perhaps I'm just reaching that point. It doesn't sound fun to me, and I try and do stuff that's fun. So I do end up helping a lot of people, but what I like to do is to let someone do it themselves, and once they kind of have their shit together, then they come to me and they're like, hey, like I've done a lot of stuff and I've put a lot of effort in, but what I don't like to do is just like work with a brand new person who, especially because I think what you're saying is like, hey, work with someone for free. And here's the problem. Anytime that I've done work for free, anytime I've given advice, because people would shoot me an email, hey, can you check this out and maybe review my site for me? And I would do a little video, no charge. I would send them information, and then they wouldn't listen to what I advised them on at all. They would just think, oh, you know what? I heard this other rando person say that they do this in some like Facebook group, and then they wouldn't do what I said, which, I mean, I make mistakes and everything I say is not correct. I mean, I don't have any kind of delusions like that, but at least, don't waste my time. So anyway, whatever you just proposed here ends up not working out for me and it doesn't sound fun, and I'm in the luxurious position where I can like pick things that sound fun to work on. All right. Plus, I'm answering your questions here. Also, you spelled my name Doe. instead of Doug, which is a very common thing. I have no fucking idea why. I honestly don't know, but it's like 1/3 of anyone that types my name, like types Doe instead of Doug. It's Doug. No H on the end. You're thinking of donuts. Totally different. Okay. Bangi says, hopefully I pronounced your name right. Can we build a whole niche site based on 10 low volume competition with a KGR under 0.25? Yes, you could do whatever you would like. I wouldn't advise that you do that though. You can do that, but I suggest you aim a little higher. You're better than that. All right. And if there are questions that are not super relevant, I'm just skipping them. Okay. Umer says, when am I going to relaunch the course? Typically, that's going to come in mid-April. All right. Mid-April. However, I do have an evergreen funnel in place. So if you were to sign up to the email list, you potentially couldn't get in there a little bit sooner. All right, I'm going to talk about books a little bit. So I went out on a hike with some financial independent folks. And one of the guys was like, hey, I have a lot of copies of this book that I just give out to people. And he was like, hey, here you go. So Your Money or Your Life. And it is a pretty popular book. I've heard it referenced many times. And who's read this one? So it says 9 steps to transforming your relationship with money and achieving financial independence. And the foreword is by Mr. Money Mustache, whose name is Pete Adeney, and he runs the co-working space that I go to sometimes. So he lives in the neighborhood around here, basically. And Amelia says, which email is best for me? So Doug@nichesiteproject.com. It's totally fine that you don't know it off the top of your head. And you read. All right. So I just read the intro by Mr. Money Mustache so far because I have not been dedicating myself to reading as much as I had like in the last few months. So just kind of busy with all the house hunting situations going on. The other one, a friend just sent me this one. We were talking about like just negotiation and kind of to go along with the house negotiation, because I was like, I'm trying to be a little harder if I can to like negotiate with the builders and stuff like that. But this one is Secrets of Power Negotiating, updated for the 21st century, and it's by Roger Dawson. Has anyone read this one? So this is a brand new one. My friend totally surprised me and just sent it over, and I wasn't expecting it or anything like that. So that was pretty cool. And let's see. And then this last one is a Stephen King book. So I've been reading more fiction lately just because sometimes I get not overwhelmed, but like I'm just trying to like execute and implement things that I've read in nonfiction books. And sometimes just reading more and more is not going to help me like execute. So I'm like, if I could just do the things that are in, say, The Power of Habit, then I'm like getting the things done that I need to. I don't need new ideas. I just need to execute on the ones that I know. Anyway, this is called Lisey's Story by Stephen King. And it's, I'm about halfway through. Yeah, about halfway. And I don't think there's any kind of like supernatural stuff going on. There could be. No one spoil it for me, please. Please. So quick note, I used to not read. So about say like 5 years ago, I maybe would read one book per year, something like that. And then I think I decided I was going to read more, talk to a couple smart people that I admire. And I was like, hey, how much do you read? And they're reading like a book a week. My brother-in-law, extremely smart. He's a PhD. So, you know, he's studious as well. And he was like, yeah, I read like maybe like 60 per year. And I was like, oh man, I got to get on it. So for a couple years, I was reading like about a book a week, roughly 50% fiction, 50% nonfiction, and actually read, like not audiobooks, like read either on a Kindle or like a physical book. So anyway, if you guys have book recommendations, let me know. But those are the ones that I'm checking out right now. And I'm going to go back to some of the questions over here and see what's going on. And fat fingers. Oh, and someone says fat fingers, H is next to G. Actually, Merrick, that is a generous way for you to look at it, but I think people mess it up because they don't pay attention and they just assume it's dough. I thought maybe because a lot of this happened at work too, and a lot of times it was from people in India or the surrounding areas where I thought maybe it was very common for the G and H to occur next to each other. But then I started seeing it from just like a lot of people. So I don't know. Yeah, G and H are close to each other, but it happens so much that I can't imagine that it is just a fat finger. Okay. Amelia is asking a technical question. Breadcrumbs error in Google Search Console. And okay, so I noticed that too, and it was I think it was like just Google being too strict or implementing something a little bit incorrectly, because I talked to my theme creator, Chris Pearson. He created the thesis theme from back in the day, and now the Focus WordPress theme. Highly recommended. Check it out. And Chris took a look and he was like, yeah, they're doing X, Y, and Z. And he fixed the implementation and thesis so that the error wouldn't show up. So, okay. And Chris says you've heard Vicky Robin on some Fi podcast. Oh, cool. Vicky Robin. Oh, that totally makes sense. She's the author of this one. And it's cool because soon I have an interview that I just did this week with Carl Jensen. Anyone know Carl Jensen, by the way? Mr. 1500. So I have like pretty awesome interview that I did this week. Going to be publishing it soon. Very excited about hopefully branching off into some of the FI or financial independence content. It's very interesting, and I'm lucky to be in a position where I like know some people that are financially independent, and I also and they're prominent, so they're interesting and they have good stories to tell, and they can introduce me to other interesting people as well, which is awesome. And Amelia's sending me an email. Thank you. Hopefully we could work something out. And check out Amelia's channel. She has a lot of videos out there. She has a lot of videos doing interesting stuff. She reads a lot of fiction, she's saying. Yeah. Okay. Looking over here. Okay. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is an online summit. So I'm part of an online summit over here at Buying Online Businesses. It's free to attend. It starts tomorrow. Highly recommend you check it out. I don't know how they let me in there, but let me share the screen so we can see some of the other folks. Let me see if I can do this without messing everything up over here. All right, give me 1 second. So without the producer and me doing my own production, it's a little sloppier, but it's real. I think people like that, hopefully. So it is free to attend this online summit. And I think there is some mechanism where you could like download it or watch it later or some kind of thing. But my friend Jared Krause over at Buying Online Businesses put it together. And there's some big hitters on there. And that's why I don't know how I ended up being included. I think I made some strategic introductions at some point, and Jared appreciated that. So anyway, he has some sort of an exit intent, but it's starting in 5 hours. So that's tomorrow. And I'm just going to go down to who's in there. So we have people talking about things that they're into. We have Alex Champagne from Empire Flippers. So again, you'll recognize the names and or the people and or the companies. Then you have Ace Chapman, super sharp guy, I've listened to a bunch of his appearances on other podcasts, and I believe he has his own podcast. Mark Douse, and I'm going to end up mispronouncing words. Quiet Light Brokerage, Blake Hutchinson from Flippa, the CEO, Brian Diener over at Centurica, great company. They do due diligence. Old buddy Dom Wells from Onfolio, Steven Spencer, who apparently is super well known, but I didn't know his name. I think he wrote some books. My buddy Matt Diggity from Diggity Marketing, Sam McRoberts, he's been on the show. Very smart guy. And they use like not my favorite picture here. I need to find where the fuck this is and pull it down because I've seen people use it and I just look, I don't know, look kind of weird there. I think my face is a little fatter. It was a little heavier back then. This is when I had a full-time job. So we got Will Wang from Growth Labs, and then me, and then Grant Parker from Drop Ship Down Under. So should be pretty awesome. Again, big hitters, and it's free. And I think the only thing that I'm an affiliate for with this is like if you happen to get the premium, which I believe allows you to watch it later or something like that. So enough with the exit intent. I can't get out of here. All right, let's go back here to the big screen. And I do have another clip. This one is from Christie, another hugely popular interview. In fact, it did super well. And Christie is running a site that's like, I think at this point is 15 to 16 months old. It's worth about $75,000 or more. Just chatted with her the other day. We're doing some strategic stuff to help grow certain areas, and it's turned out really well, by the way. May include some of the strategies in a future sort of accelerator course that I'm doing. Yet to come. But basically, Christie is talking about strategies and mistakes in this clip. So let's roll it here.
Well, I think the first thing was to just set my expectations correctly. You were a piece of that, definitely. I think you were really upfront in the course and just in your other materials of saying this isn't an overnight thing, right? And I think once you start learning more about how Google works, how SEO works, then it really clicks of, yeah, this is going to take some time. But the nice thing about, doing the KGR, at least in the beginning, is that you do see some progress and you can see some results right away, which is the key to staying motivated, right? So if I hadn't seen a single dollar in 6 months, I probably wouldn't continue. And that's really realistic if you don't go after like some KGR keywords, right? So if I had only gone after giant keyword traffic phrases, I probably would have burned out also, no matter how passionate I was about the topic. So I think it's really important right up front to tell yourself that if you need a quick fix, if you need like a way to pay your mortgage next month, this is not that. But for me, I wanted something supplemental to kind of diversify my life income, right, from my other business. And I wanted something that I would enjoy working on in my own time and eventually could be more of a lifestyle for me than running a services-based business, which I do now.
Perfect. And another thing I want to point out and emphasize, so we talked about some of the expenses and you like broke even before, you're making profit now, you could reinvest like comfortably and you're continuing to make a profit each month. The value of your site is probably in the like $70,000 to $90,000
That's a nice number.
Yeah. So like if someone is thinking, hey, that's a lot of money that you spent,
Right.
it's actually worth quite a bit. If you look at evaluation, if you shopped it around, I know because you're obsessed with it and you spend so much time, you're not going to sell it, but it's comforting to know.
Building an asset, and should an emergency arise, you built something of value, which I do think is important.
Yeah. So, yep, you put in a lot of money, even more time, but you have like an asset that's very clear that there's value there. So very good. Mistakes. So we all end up making some mistakes, even with expert guidance and when you try to do a good job. So can you talk about a few mistakes that you made?
Yeah, I think there were quite a few things that I did partly well, which I classify as partly mistakes. So one of the things that I did well was create like an Excel spreadsheet right off the top, every article, like my checklist of what needs to be done, every article. So I have a really clear sense of like every post that's out there, when it was posted, like how long I expect it to take to rank, all that good stuff. That's nice. I did not do that for things like images, right? Which I now kind of wish I'd gone back and done, that I'd kept track of which free stock sites I got things from just to cover my bases. Once you're 200 posts in, that seems pretty giant to go back. Had I to do it again, I would probably add that to my nice little spreadsheet, just as like a comfort factor. So that would be one. I would also be a little bit more strategic about the social media stuff. What I did well was focusing on Pinterest primarily. I wrote another article about Pinterest and how it drove, I think it was like 13 to 15% of my early traffic. And I think it's still right around there. I think it was like 15 or 18% last time I checked for the year, which is really good when you're still trying to get organic traffic and you want it from anywhere. So for me, Pinterest was a great place to go because it is a search engine. So you can apply a lot of what you're already doing on the site to Pinterest. So that was good. I wish that I had not started an Instagram. Kind of a time suck, and I don't work on it, and I don't like doing it. So that's probably not a huge advantage to be spending any time on, or just the time spent feeling guilty about not spending time on it. I don't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
So I would have been a little bit more strategic about that. I think the other thing I would have spent more time on is the link building, which you and I have been talking about lately, and just doing a little bit more of that along the way. So for me, I needed to focus on content, right? And that was where I put all my time, my energy, and I got to like 200 articles, and I felt really good about that. And then now we're to the point where I need to catch up on the link building. So that's kind of the next thing for me. If I were to do it over, I would have been doing that kind of the whole way.
All right. And that was Christie. You could check out the full interview on the channel. I published it a couple weeks ago, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. I maybe even put a link in the description. Maybe. I probably did. So she's doing awesome. And I want to emphasize, what she was saying, where she's like, I should have been building links the whole time. And I try to tell people, it's in the course, like, do this, do that, do this, do that. And some people, they don't listen. And they're like, hey, I just want to keep publishing content. I think that's a better route. But as you progress, and I've been doing this for a little while, but basically, building the links, maybe not all of them are going to be great, and maybe it's not super fun work, but in the long run, a balance of what you're working on is probably going to work out better. I want to let you know that this live stream is brought to you in part by Ezoic, and that's a software platform that helps website owners make more money from their sites. Ezoic uses machine learning, like artificial intelligence, and the goal is to provide a better user experience, which helps you earn more money. And I didn't really know much about Ezoic before I started working with them, and I just thought it was like another display network. I really didn't know like anything about it, but they have a full end-to-end platform, and it helps you like make money from the same amount of traffic by optimizing the ads that are there using that machine learning. Plus they have a brand new site speed accelerator. I've been playing with it and giving them some feedback, actually, because I didn't find some of the pieces to work as exactly how I thought. So I'm actually working with their team directly, and they're taking feedback from people like me, people like Ron, people like John, stuff like that. That are into sites. So I talk to those guys sometimes, and Ezoic is all about improving like what they're launching. So check out the Site Speed Accelerator. They do have a 7-day free trial, and if you have never done any sort of like optimization for speed, you'll find the Site Speed Accelerator is way easy to work with than some of the other tools out there. So thanks a lot to Ezoic. There's a link in the description. Please do check out that stuff. All right. And let me find my notes again, because I actually got a couple fresh questions in here um, the other day about link building, and people were asking specifically about the HOTH. And funny thing happened, actually. One of my buddies that I used to work with at Accenture, one of those consulting companies, he texted, I haven't talked to him in years. He texted me and he was like, dude, I just saw your name dropped in a Facebook group. And I was like, well, that's weird. This guy was much smarter, more ambitious, and a better worker than me, I think, overall. He's still doing it, of course. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I was just like, oh, wow, that that's weird. That's super weird. But anyway, that question was actually about the HOTH. So I will quickly just show you. I'm going to try to share my screen again. Great. This stuff is working like okay. So they have a ton of products over at the HOTH. And the HOTH used to be sort of a gray hat shop, just in a general sense. But they have, I'll show you exactly what I get. All right. So again, there's a lot of products in the link building area. The one that I recommend is this guest post one, and hopefully I didn't demo this ahead of time, so hopefully we'll be able to navigate through this without without me having to log in or anything like that, because I would grind it to a halt. So back in the day, I used the HOTH for some of these like early guest posts, and I wasn't super happy with the results that I saw, like as far as the sites that it went on, but that was something like 5 years ago. That was a long time ago. So last year I thought, you know what, I have this assumption about the HOTH, but they've obviously upgraded a lot of things about the products that they have, the services that they have, and I was like, I'm going to test this out and see if I could recommend it, because I basically didn't have anything to recommend for a long time. I'm not going to read all this stuff here, but here's what you need to do. Super important. All right. If you're going to get links, if you're going to get links, guest post from a service, you don't want to select it based on the domain authority. That is the way we used to do it 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You should aim for the publisher traffic. This is very important. If the publisher traffic is like reasonably high, I'm going to zoom in here. If the site is getting organic traffic from Google, that means Google likes the site. So it's literally ranking for some keywords. The site is getting traffic. You can check that with a third-party source. You don't have to just believe like whatever the supplier is telling you. You literally can go to like SimilarWeb, you can go to Ahrefs, you can go to SEMrush, fill in some other tool, and literally see like, hey, this site is ranking for stuff. And from there, you can select the length, like the word count, right? So 500 words, 1,000, and you can see, you could play around. All right, I want to make sure it's 5,000 visitors per month on average. I want to have 1,000 words, and I'm going to order one of them, $3.25, right? You can go as cheap, like if you're aiming for the very front end, it's $2.25, 1,000 words. And I would say, you know, if you're getting a few, I would probably get 5, like at a minimum to get started. Your budget is going to be your limiting factor most of the time. So anyway, this is something to check out here. And again, publisher traffic, regardless of who you're ordering it from, if you can make sure you're getting on a site that is ranking in Google and is verifiably getting traffic through a third-party source, you're probably going to be okay. The danger is like if you pick this domain authority, then you potentially could end up on sites that are content farms. Maybe they've boosted their domain authority artificially by sending a bunch of links. You can totally manipulate the domain authority. It's just a metric by Moz. So if you understand how Moz is working, basically looking at the number of links and the authority of those links, then you can just manipulate that stat and then charge more for it. And that is precisely what I observed, not with a HOTH in the past, but when I was like working and looking at, working on guest posting and looking at other services, I would see like, oh yeah, 3 months ago, they hit this site with like 1,000 backlinks that are clearly garbage. And so now it's a DA65. even though it doesn't look like it's getting any traffic. It's not ranking for anything. They just have a bunch of backlinks. So that's the thing you got to look out for. So check out the publisher traffic, check out the HOTH. I've been super happy with the results that I've seen from them over the past, I guess I've been testing for about a year at this point. So I did some quiet testing, like just on my own. I wasn't sharing anything about it for about 4 months or so, something like that. And then started using them in the AgeSite case study. So AgeSite case study, if you're unfamiliar, you should check it out. Steven, what's going on? And yeah, Steven's like, hey, I try and make Doug laugh while he's talking. Always fun. Always fun. All right, let me see what else we have that I wanted to talk about. We talked about nootropics. If you guys showed up late, check out Formula. I have a subscription myself. I use the company, I checked it out. I started using the product, and then I contacted them to see if I could interview them. And then slowly, the guys were cool, and I enjoyed talking to them. And then that's why I became an affiliate. But I was actually a user, and I haven't gotten anything free from them at all. So I just pay. I'm just a customer. I'm just a customer. So they were super happy when I was like, I'm a customer and I want to interview you and talk about your product. They were like, perfect. We love this. This is great. Folks, let me know if you have any questions in the chat, and I will hop to it, look at a couple of those. So if people are interested in using my affiliate link for the HOTH, there's a link in the description. Steven says, have I heard of Rhino Rank? No, I have not. I don't know what that is. All right, cool. And I think we can just look at a couple other questions here. Someone asked about using Payoneer. I don't know anything about it. I've used Payoneer one time, and it was kind of a pain in the ass. I didn't like working. It took me a month to get my account approved. I don't know why. Could have been my fault. Usually when there's something like that, it's probably my fault. But it took me a long time to get my account approved, which seemed weird because I was just trying to get money out of there. I wasn't doing anything unusual there. So anyhow, if people are brand new to the channel and you don't know that I have a podcast, I do have a podcast. It's called The Doug.Show, and you can listen. You can listen to it. So if you're not by the computer or you're unable to watch video, check out the podcast. Even if it's the same sort of topic, for example, I published the Ron Stefanski interview at the same time as I put the video out, but it's a little bit different content. So I do a different intro, a different outro. Sometimes I do some question and answer. People leave voicemails, by the way. So you can leave a voicemail, I'll play you on the air, all that kind of stuff. And Steven mentions that Rhino Rank is similar to the HOTH. Fat Joe is similar to the HOTH too. And yeah, there's several of them out there. And, for people who are like, hey, I want to start a service business or something like that, I wouldn't personally start such a business. I tried to do that, and I just didn't like the work. Clients are very demanding, so I don't like to work with clients. I try to avoid that. But I mean, there's services out there, and if you can get this down, if you can figure out how to do guest posting at scale, that is easily a 6-figure business per year profit. Pretty straightforward to get going. It is not easy to do it at scale, though. I'll tell you that. It's not easy to do it at scale. And like I said, I don't personally like working with clients so much because they're demanding. They can be demanding. So I have navigated to other areas which fit my work style a little bit more. But yeah, if you started a guest posting or link building service, you could crush it really quickly. People would love to talk to you and test out the service and all that stuff. So yeah, right. And Amelia says, so luckily the students, right? So I have a lot of students, and I was thinking about this. I classify students differently than a client because usually they respect me more. Not always, but the other thing is as I raised the price on the course, the quality of the people that I'm working with went up dramatically, and they tend to respect your time even more. So it's been interesting, but yeah, it's like it's pretty hard to draw that distinction, but somehow I am, you know, I'm doing it. Okay. Someone asked, Yuhara says, which is better, getting a link via a guest post or aim to get a link insertion on a post that already exists? So probably it depends on the specifics, but here's one thing you could think about. I don't know the answer to the question because it's not going to apply universally. If you land a guest post, that is going to be a brand new page that will need to be indexed. It probably will be indexed pretty quickly. Google's pretty good about that. And then it doesn't have any links, right? There's no history, there's no existing traffic. It maybe doesn't rank for anything. So if you can actually get a link on a page that has links going to it and maybe is ranking for a couple terms, that's probably going to be better just in general, logically, right? We're talking it through logically. If you can land on a page if you can get a link on a page and it already has some links going to it and it's already getting some traffic, that's probably going to be better, right? So if you can do that, that's the one I would aim for. In reality, you won't really know. Every instance is a little bit different, and it would be very difficult to, I guess, just like really optimize and try to do it a specific way. So that said, we are coming up towards the end of time. Really appreciate everyone coming on live. I will have to figure out how to, get more people on here. I don't know what it was last week. Maybe I won't schedule it ahead of time and I'll just pop it up arbitrarily. So a couple things coming up for the people that are on here. I think we're kind of at the height of like the number of attendees. So number one, got a cool interview coming out next Monday. Just kind of talking shop with my friend John. He's been on the show a few times. Definitely recommend you check it out. The following Monday, I interview Carl Jensen, a new friend of mine who retired at age 43. He's blogging over at it's 1500 Days. And if you just Google Carl Jensen, you'll find information about him. He's actually been, I didn't realize this, he's been on like national news and stuff. So it's kind of funny because I've bumped into and started hanging out with some people, and I didn't know they were a big deal until afterwards, which maybe is better. I mean, I don't think I get starstruck or anything like that, but it's kind of funny when I, name dropping, which I don't do too often, but I mean, I'm doing it here, right? Because I'm trying to get people excited for the upcoming shows, like look out for the new shows and all that. But like name dropping a bit in conversation where it makes sense, right? I'm not being a dick about it. But people are like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like I know that person. Actually, another thing that happened is I didn't drop the name. The person that I was chatting with mentioned a name, and I was like, oh yeah, I know that person. And I'm like texting with this other person. So anyway, it's kind of funny. And Derek says, do I ever practice broken link building? No, I don't. How about you, Derek? So there's a lot of like different link building tactics and ideas that, I mean, make sense. And if you go and read like, hey, do broken link building, logically it all makes sense. But I think it's a lot of work for a very like small amount of like conversions, right? I think you would have to send out a ton of emails, but like there's so many marketers out there sending emails for like, hey, I found this broken link. Like it's kind of been done to death for the past like 6 years or so. So my hunch is it's not as effective as it used to be. And if you can get a way in to a certain, like, if you can network and meet people, that is a much better way to get links. So for example, has anyone heard of Mr. Money Mustache, right? So I alluded to it before. He wrote the new foreword to this book, which is sort of a this is a very prominent book. I made acquaintance with people associated with Mr. Money Mustache and met Pete and stuff like that. So I now have a link on Mr. Money Mustache. People, go look at the stats for Mr. Money Mustache. Like while we're sitting here, go check it out. Go check it out. So I have a link on that site now at this point, which is crazy. So moving on. Anyway, so Derek, on the broken link building, you should try it. I think if you found the right people, it could be worthwhile, but I believe it would be one of those where you would do an iteration, you would try it, you would optimize, you try it again, run these campaigns, do a ton of research, have a system set up, and then you could refine it. I'm sure it can work because there are old websites with bad links and people generally don't want to have a sloppy implementation with links that don't go anywhere. They want to have, their site pointing to the proper places. So I think you could get it to work, but it doesn't sound super fun to me. And is it Jason, JYH? So I'm going to go talk to Matt today. I literally just got an email from him. We're going to have a couple beers and see how we can collaborate together. So Matt, I'm going to have to ask him how he pronounces his last name. But he's over at moneylab.co. So I'm going to chat with Matt. It's a nice sunny day. You can't tell it's so bright out there, but it's a nice sunny day out there. We're going to have a beer this afternoon. So, all right. And Chris mentions to, be sure you subscribe and you click the bell for notifications, and then you'll be notified for these live streams and other videos that may come out. The interesting thing, another thing coming up, folks may remember I was creating highlight reels and publishing them. So I would do an interview with Ron, for example, and then I would have my editor take, some clips so that they were shorter, because some people are like, I don't want to watch 1 hour of an interview. The clips are better. So I started publishing those clips, and we were on to something, right? Because some people said they loved it, and then other people, threatened me. They were like, we hate it. You're totally messing up my YouTube feed. So it was a mixed bag. Turns out people seem to like it, and then the clips are super convenient to play for this. So we're doing clips again. So they're probably going to start coming out next week, but at the volume that I'm doing interviews and stuff, we should have tons of clips. There's going to be a flood of new content. And I think the clips are good. I personally watch clips like that myself. All right. And then let's keep going through. Oh, and Derek says you're almost at $1,000 this month on the new website. Cool. All right. I think that's it for today. So Amelia, I'm going to look for the email from you. Hopefully we could hook something up soon, figure out how to help each other out. And then, and someone mentioned that Amelia is covering the income store really well, which, what's funny? Like I said, I stay out of the loop. I try not to do I just don't want to get stressed out. I never even heard of income store. I never heard anything about it until I think I saw a link in an email, and then took a quick look, and then Google listens to me constantly with the devices. So I saw Amelia, I think I saw some of your coverage on YouTube, and then I was like, what is this thing? And then because I am not connected to it, the story at all or anything, or I didn't even know what it was. I watched a little bit, and then I was like, I don't even know what this is. So it wasn't super engaging for me because I didn't know anything about it. So anyway, I think that's it for today. Everyone have a great weekend out there, and check out the affiliate links in the description. Those help me buy beer. All right, I'll be honest with you. That's what I'm going to do with it. So if you want to buy me a beer, you could sign up for hosting or something like that from SiteGround, or if you could figure out how to send me a beer, I'll take that too. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week.